almost scared. Awesome. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started with the forum. Who said boo? Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't believe that. I'd like to welcome you all to the Village of Los Ranchos Trustee Candidate Forum, sponsored and hosted by the Village of Los Ranchos. A special thank you to Village Clerk Danielle Cedillo Molina for organizing this forum. Yes. Here's the clock. Before we get too far down the road, I ask everyone in this room, and I mean everyone, to please turn off your cell phones or any other device that makes a sound. And candidates, that includes you. Turn yours off, please. The only exception to this is the timekeeper up here in the front row. I am Mary H. Smith of the League of Women Voters of Central New Mexico, the moderator of tonight's forum. Assisting tonight are League members, our timekeeper Starlyn Brown, our Voter Services Director Jill Crawley, our question reviewer Karen Wentworth, and Henry from the Village. I don't know Henry's last name. Sorry, Henry. I told him my childhood nickname is Henry, so he's a friend of mine now. Please hold your applause as I introduce the Village of Los Ranchos Trustee candidates here in the order in which they appear on the ballot. John B. Edward, Gilbert L. Benavides, Gwen Adams Baldwin, and George E. Radnovich. Thank you for agreeing to share some time with us and helping to educate the voters about yourselves and your candidacies. Please join me in welcoming them. Now you can applaud. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization whose membership is open to both men and women over the age of 16. We were founded more than a century ago in 1920, and our mission is to encourage informed and active participation in government and influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League of Women Voters neither supports nor opposes political candidates or parties. Maintaining our nonpartisan identity helps build trust across communities and ensures that we remain a credible, reliable voice for all voters. We are fiercely committed to voter education that allows people to become and remain informed and engaged voters. We encourage you to join our organization. Pick up some materials outside from our table, if you would, please. I urge you all to access the League of Women Voters online voter guide at vote411.org to see information about November's ballot, including candidates' answers to questions posed by the League. In addition, you can find the PDF versions of the League's voter guide for each of our 4 counties at our website, lwvcnm.org. And I checked this afternoon, they're there. Tonight's forum permits the candidates to have an opportunity to introduce themselves and their qualifications to you, the voters, and allow you to get to know their plans and hopes for the future. The format and rules for tonight's forum are as follows. First, candidates will have 90 seconds to give their opening remarks. Second, I will ask questions of the candidates, giving each of them time to answer the same question in each round. The response time may vary depending on the number or complexity of the questions and the amount of time remaining, and I will inform everyone and the timekeeper of that response time before each question. I will ask questions submitted by the community to the League's email address for forum questions from tonight's audience and perhaps from the League's questions library. Index cards and pencils are available at the League table in the foyer or from the table up here. And there is a basket at the end of the table where you can drop off your questions. If you would like someone to pick up questions that you've written on a card, please raise your hand and someone will come get that from you. Write your question on the index card and raise your hand to catch the attention of our volunteers, and then they'll bring them up here to our question reviewers, Henry and Karen. Please address your questions to all candidates and not to any particular candidate. Your question should be short and to the point and should address only one issue. You may submit multiple questions, each on a separate index card. Please submit your questions as early in the forum as possible. The question reviewers will try to consolidate questions on the same topic or issue or may rewrite the questions for clarity and focus. I may do the same. I will ask the candidates as many questions about as many issues as time permits. Because this is not a debate, rebuttals by the candidates to each other's answers will not be allowed. Candidates, please address your responses to the audience and do not attack, challenge, argue with, snipe at, or question each other. Candidates, you do not have to use all of your time for your responses. Frankly, the less time you take, the more questions we can ask. Candidates, if you ask me to repeat the question, your allotted response time will begin as soon as I start restating the question. So please jot down the question as I ask it, so you will not need to ask me to repeat it. The questions asked tonight were reviewed and vetted only by the League of Women Voters member Karen Wentworth and the sponsors volunteer Henry. Tell me your last name. What? Schonerg? Okay, my name is Smith, so seriously, everybody else's name is hard. Sorry, sorry, Henry. Neither the questions nor the issues have been shared with the candidates before tonight's forum. Audience, this is for you. Please respect the candidates and their time and the rest of the audience and refrain from clapping, booing, cheering, shouting, stomping your feet, or otherwise showing your approval or disapproval of any response or candidate. I will diligently police that. And if any of you were at the Albuquerque Mayor Forum last night, you will know how I did that. Third and finally, near the end of the forum, about 7:50 or so, we will close the question and answer portion of the forum, and candidates will have up to 90 seconds to give their closing statements. I remind the candidates that the timekeeper, front and center here, Starlin, would you raise your hand, please? She is the most important person in this room, and you may not ignore her. When answering the questions, you must keep an eye on her. She will alert you to the time remaining for your answers, and you must stop talking when she holds up the sign that says stop. If you keep going, she will ring a bell, and I will stop you. No exceptions. Before tonight's forum, the candidates drew numbers to determine the order in which they will speak. I will rotate the questioning so that the same candidate will not always go first. So let's get started. Mr. Edward drew number 1, so he will give his opening remarks for 90 seconds, please.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. How's everybody? I recognize a lot of faces in the crowd, and to me, that is one wonderful symptom of what a good community is. And whenever there's in times of stress, of a tough decision, I find that if you go back to the basic core principles, when I played professional baseball and in college, if there was ever a time we began to lose, you always go back to the basics. And for me, the basics for our community is to be comforted by a sense of identity through the unique place that we live and that we call home and that we share. And that we have these opportunities for face-to-face engagement and interaction that make a community. A community is people. We could take all the people and we could go somewhere else and we'd create a new community. And so for me, the community is about the people who live here, and it's what we share. That we share in the way of open spaces, that we share in the way of a dynamic and vibrant community where we can honor each other's gifts and grow from those gifts in the form of nature, in the form of business, in the form of relationships where we can heal and grow together. There's a saying in Spanish that says, los dedos diferentes de manos, pero son familia. Although we're all different, we're all family of the hand. And that's what I would like, is this community to be tighter and more intimate.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
Hi, I'm George Radnovich. I forget that when I'm up here at the dais. My name's George Radnovich. I've been your trustee for 4 years. I'm the one who asks a lot of questions on the board when we have board meetings. I'm the one who doesn't care about the politics of those questions, and I'm the one that tries to be your voice in the community as I ask those questions. I try to advocate for things that are important to me, and those things are the way our community works, the way it looks. I'm a landscape architect and a planner by trade. The voices of the community are important to me, so I care about what each and every one of you have to say in terms of Los Ranchos. I try to listen to those voices and I try to bring them to the board. You may not have seen much of me in this election. I don't have one sign out yet. And that's because I went through some personal troubles earlier in the year. My wife had open heart surgery and as an emergency. So you'll see more of me in the near future. I ask for your vote and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
Hi, I'm Gilbert Benavides, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for doing this forum. People also know me as Gil. I'm running to be reelected, so my experience is 4 years as a trustee, 2 years as a planning and zoning commissioner. I also serve on the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Authority Board as your representative. My wife and I have lived here for 41 years. We raised our 3 children. They went to Los Ranchos Elementary. I did volunteer work, taught hands-on science. My wife actually brought music to a school with funding support from the PTA. And prior to that, I'm a retired engineer. I worked on products for our national security. So I'm running because we have some challenges and opportunities ahead of us. And I think I would really love to work on these with your input. Things like water. What do we do about the water shortages? Federal funding cuts. How's that going to affect 4th Street and our levees? Village Hall. Are we outgrowing Village Hall? What do we do with that? Opportunities about, like, how do we connect the Agri-Nature Center to 4th Street? And Main Street, how do we grow that? How do we help the businesses? These can be very exciting times for us. How do we make the village fun, bring art and music to 4th Street? So I really would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you, and thank you again to the League of Women Voters and all of you here who are making a difference by showing up and getting informed and learning more about us. You know, there's something really amazing about living in a village. I grew up in a village of about 440 people in Ohio. It was a tiny place, but we knew each other. We played in big open fields. We knew our business, maybe too much of it, but it made us a community. And so living in Los Ranchos is a dream come true for me. We live on a half acre of land with views of the Sandias. We get to walk to the acequias. We get to walk to coffee and ice cream on 4th Street. What could be better? Making a meaningful difference in the community is also a part of my DNA. So as I walked the Asekas with new friends and got to know more about the history and culture of the village, I got involved. I got involved on planning and zoning. I got involved in the Economic Development Committee, the Neighborhood Crime Watch Group, the Los Ranchos Citizens Corps. And I also tried to do things together to bring people together, like co-founding the community yard sale we just had last Sunday, and now a new foundation for the village to help invest in the facilities and infrastructure. And we just received notice from the IRS that we got our tax status. So when people I respect asked me to run, I stepped up and I decided now is the time to make a greater difference for a bright future for Los Ranchos. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move to the questions. And it's not a warning, it's just kind of information for the candidates. I do not listen to your answers because I'm focused on the next questions I'm going to ask. So if I ask you a question that you think you've already answered, please answer it again, because we got another question that touches on it maybe from a different perspective. So please don't hold it against me that I don't listen to you. So we'll start the first question. We're going to start with Mr. Radnovich, and I think I will give 90 seconds for this question. How would you describe the role of trustee in our system of local government? Mr. Radnovich, 90 seconds, please.
Trustees are the voting members of the governing body for the village of Los Ranchos. So the mayor typically brings questions before us. Sometimes he brings them very quickly. And our job is to deliberate about those questions, about that code, about whatever we happen to be deliberating on, and then vote on them. The mayor is supposed to be a tiebreaker among us. So the thing that I think we need more of, and I'll go into this a little bit, even though it's not perfectly aligned with the question, is more citizen input with those questions. We don't really allow the citizens of Los Ranchos to help decide and help deliberate what those questions are and how we should deal with them. So I'd like to hear more from residents about that. I think that I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So yes, the role of the trustee is to vote on ordinances, do resolutions, major contracts, major subdivisions that come through. But a very important role is to have the pulse of the people in the community. And I'm someone that's very approachable. People see me walking about and mowing my own lawn. And I'm a very practical person. I'm very well connected to the diverse community that we have here, thanks to my wife, who's been here, seems like forever, way before I got here anyhow. So, I know the unique neighborhoods, and Guadalupe Trail is such a nice microcosm of the village because it's just a diverse socioeconomic class, and I get to talk to all these people, and I get to inform the mayor of things that the people are interested in talking about. We don't set the agenda. We might ask the mayor to put something on the agenda. Having a good relationship with the mayor is important. Yeah, I think I'll end it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Trustees are a part of the governing body, but more than that, we are your representative voice to the mayor and to the administrators. And conversely, we are the communicators back to you about policies and projects going on in the village. So we are hopefully the closest to you as we can possibly be. So there's open communication. There are requirements in terms of setting broad policy agendas related to the master plan, updating codes and ordinances to meet community needs, ensuring that there is a robust budget that is fiscally responsible and delivers the services that we need to the community. And there's also advise and consent. When the mayor makes appointments or the administrator makes hires, the trustees are there to ensure that. But it's also really important that we are clear that we aren't the great initiators of new policies and projects individually. This is a strong mayor form of government and administration. So we have a very important role to play, and I think the biggest one is being your eyes and ears and being the voice back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So you guys get to listen to this for the fourth time. So whenever I meet somebody, the first thing, one of the things I ask, I said, you know, what is on your mind? What is worrying your heart? And what is making you happy about the village? And if we don't know that, we can't be your voice. We are your voice. We need to be your advocate. And not just an advocate for you, but we need to be an advocate for our community at large, to the greater community. We represent so much to the city of Albuquerque and the greater region. And that's one thing I don't think that the trustees have done enough of, being a strong advocate for the community and what we deserve as a community. We run at large. I represent Penny Remby as much as I represent Connie, and they live at different ends of the village here. And if you take Frank over here, he lives even further north. We represent all of you. And so we need to be thoughtful. We need to be deliberating. We also need to maybe ask for more time when we talk about issues. One of the voices I hear is that things come too quickly and there really is no deliberation. And people come in here oftentimes repetitively, when I'm on P&Z, repetitively come to the stand over and over and over again, and their comments fall on deaf ears. That's wrong. I do not believe that that's the way that this government should run. People say that it is, but that's not what's happening. And I will be your voice, and I will listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will also be 90 seconds. And we'll be starting the questioning or the answers with Mr. Benavides. What defines the character of the village, and how would you deal with development in the village? 90 seconds, Mr. Benavides.
Well, the character is, you know, we can go back to our roots, you know, our agricultural roots. We can talk about the cultures, the different people that were here, the things that we like to celebrate, the community type events, the different neighborhoods that we have. You know, it all brings a lot of color to the village. And I'm sorry, there was a second part to that, and the character, and what was that, the second part, Mary?
And how would you deal with development in
Development.
the village?
So the development needs to be within the character of the village, right? I think we all like the small businesses that we see on 4th Street. We don't want big box stores. We don't want big apartment complexes. And we've done things to be more in line with the village in that regard, and changing our ordinances like VC and the C1 ordinances, working with the Citizens Advisory Committee. So I'd like to bring art and music to 4th Street, actually. I think we would all like to see that. And you know, 4th Street's very important to us, the Main Street, and as well as other businesses outside of 4th Street, because that's where we get our GRT. And it should be a fun and exciting place to be, as well as our Agri Nature Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Baldwin.
Thank you. When I think about the things that I love about the village, I think about the amazing open space. I think about the acequia system, which is like the central nervous system of this village. I think about the long history of various agriculture traditions, going back time immemorial. That is one of the heartbeats that makes Los Ranchos so special. We also have 4th Street, Route 66 in its original route. And the vibrancy of small business is something that I think is really important to focus on in development. I would agree that big box development and high-density multifamily housing does not have a future in Los Ranchos. And I do think that change is inevitable. There will be some things that come in, and we should make space for new families and new businesses and new farmers to be successful in the village if they want to be a part of the village and be good neighbors. So I would look at focusing on the vibrancy of 4th Street and making sure that our local businesses are strong and grow, that we recruit new businesses that will make 4th Street a place we want to go every day, whether it's to dine, shop, or gather. And I would urge there to be sort of an ambassador crew of maybe local businesses, local commercial folks, and the mayor to go and reach out and bring new businesses that we want in Los Ranchos.
Thank you, Mr. Edward.
So I think the very first form of development was back in the day when people like Dave Montoya's grandparents came and farmed the land. And they took hummocky land that wasn't always getting flooded and turned it into a farm. Or where I live, on an apple orchard in 1947 that was planted by Mr. Tyler, who's Tyler Street's named for, and he used to live there. That was the first form of development. We had that here. And that's where we came from. That is our roots. And our charter talks about agriculture, semi-rural area for us to live and grow and prosper and to stave off intense development. But where there is something to protect, you have to have the resources to protect it, and we need those gross receipts taxes. The village represents about $4 million a year in gross receipts taxes. I think we can grow those in such a way that's respectable to the residents and honor 4th Street and honor the other nodes in and around the village. One of the things I think that we need to be mindful of is that we need to protect our past while holding on to the ideas of the future. And you can do that in such a way that it is not insulting to neighbors, but it is ingratiating their gifts and bringing them to the public at large. I'd like to do things like have a gross receipts tax holiday on 4th Street in the evening to attract more businesses there so that people know that they can go there and prime the pump, just like that wonderful event we had the other night with the Globitos. I wish I had more time to tell you my other ideas. Thank you.
Mr. Radnovich.
I see Los Ranchos as two different kinds of environments. One is 4th Street with its commerce, some of which is very unhealthy at this point, and the agriculture and residential environments along Rio Grande Boulevard and the rest of Los Ranchos. So the two work together, but unlike some villages, say Taos or somewhere like Mesilla in the south, we don't have as much integration between the two. And so I think we need to integrate the two a little bit better. And I'm not suggesting that we have commercial development where there is residential now, but I am suggesting more residential development along 4th Street and perhaps El Pueblo. So that sort of tale of two cities, as we think about that, I think we need to do everything we can to reinforce each and develop both as one as we move into the future. 4th Street should be more mixed use. There should be some more residential there than there is now. Obviously, the Palindrome project and the project over on El Pueblo were real issues for the village. And so it needs to be a lower slung, lower density kind of development, but still,
Thank you.
thank you. But still stop.
The next question will be 60 seconds. I very much love tripping people up. So 60 seconds. And we'll be starting the question with Ms. Baldwin. Do you support limits on dispensaries in the village? 60 seconds, please.
Yes.
Mr. Edward?
I do support that, and I do want to talk about that as a way to not be punitive, because like in New York City, the taxi cab limits were done by permit, and then those permits were able to be sold by the individual who had those. So that didn't put a dead end on the economics attached to that. I think it's really important that we think about what it means to our children. I heard somebody the other day tell me, you know, there's 16 dispensaries from Los Ranchos to I-40. That's a lot. And I think it's easier to get marijuana in the village than it is to buy a gallon of milk. Because there is only one real meaningful grocery store, and that's at far one end, and there is nothing to the north of that. And I think that that's problematic, so I think that we need to be mindful that while we live in an agricultural area, it's a little bit of a food desert.
Mr. Radnovich.
I think there should be limits to dispensaries. I think we probably have enough right now. I'm not even sure how many we actually have. I believe it's 2, might be 3. I think there should also be limits to the growers and growing facilities if there were ever one contemplated in Los Ranchos. I think the bigger issue is we need more diversity of business and more healthy businesses in Los Ranchos along 4th Street. A lot of those storefronts that have bars on the windows that are closed, that have no one in them, we really need to help those businesses through all of the grants and all of the state monies that are available. So I would say that about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. There seems to be a proliferation of dispensaries everywhere. It seems like, some of them would eventually just go out of business. But so 3 years ago, I believe, when I was a trustee, this came before us about the cannabis, right, industry. And the discussion was the state law would not allow us to prevent dispensaries from going in, but we could say no consumption. So this would be in our ordinance, no consumption at the dispensaries, no growing of marijuana, recreational type, or even medicinal marijuana within the village. So I'm not sure how much more we can do to prevent it from coming in, but if we can, it seems like there's just so many that it's unnecessary. So the answer would be yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be 90 seconds. Am I tripping you up, Starlin? Okay, thank you. I could never do this job. It's too hard to be timekeeper. So this next question will be 90 seconds, and we will start the questioning or the answers with Mr. Edward. This is the question. Do you support more green space on 4th Street? 90 seconds, Mr. Edward.
So when it comes to the village, we are blessed with a lot of good open space, but it seems to be in one large area. There's not much salt and peppering of the open spaces that you would think you would find in the village. And to that extent, I think a diversity of uses, as some people have talked about here. The interesting thing is on the recent changes to the zoning code, they only wanted to limit, if you were in the VC or commercial zone, you could have no more than 10% open space within your site development plan. I think that's wrong. I think, for example, if I can use you as an example, Mrs. Remby, you have the most open space of any business in the village, and you're probably one of the highest gross receipts tax collectors. That says something. You take a look at Casa Rondeña, they have some of the most open space there is, one of the highest gross receipts tax collectors. That should tell us something. In the Albuquerque magazine today, it had Casa Rondeña. The things that we're featured on are about open space, but yet we don't have that on 4th Street. I think that that is a hollow representation of who we are, and I think that we should encourage that. Why not? I think at the end of the day, people come here. When they come here, people tell me their heart rate changes. They drive down the road and something changes about them. And that's good. People come here, realtors, the first place that they'll bring somebody is either High Desert or the village of Los Ranchos, and there's a reason why. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
Thank you for complimenting High Desert, which I did most of the landscape design for. And for 4th Street, which I did all of the landscape design for and the part that's built. We do need more green space along 4th Street, but it's green space that I think needs to be thought of very, very, very deeply. A park or two, because of the higher density of the retail businesses there would be good. Open space on some of the larger parcels would be good, and that's why we passed during the last 4 years that cluster development proposal that Robert Chavez spearheaded and that we are about to hear again. That we heard last year, and approved. So I think that ordinance does need to be brought to bear on 4th Street. And I hope that all of the development for residential properties on 4th Street uses a cluster approach that keeps open space as foremost in the development there. The development I did on 4th Street is a metaphor for the agrarian part of Los Ranchos, and that is a start to more green space there.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where the person that asked the question is going with that, but green space in terms of parks, that would be something that the village would be responsible for. I mean, I'm certainly, if somebody has space on 4th Street and is C1 and they want to keep it green, that's up to them. That's good for them. So Edgewood Park is actually a well-used park. So that's a good example of something that we could do. It's a small park, but other small parks north of there would also be advantageous. Maybe you go to the restaurants, you get something to eat, and you go eat at the park, right? There's a space like on El Pueblo and 4th Street. Maybe it's a small, maybe 1 acre space, but things like that might be good. We're talking about space that the village would be responsible for maintaining as well, right? But I think we can afford a few more small parks if that's what the public would like. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. Yes, I think that green space elements should be incorporated throughout the village, and it will look different in different parts of the village. Edgewood Park, as Trustee Benavides mentioned, is a wonderful attribute to that section east of 4th. We may not be able to do that in all places, but where if a development is going in, a small business or a smaller, sort of more very sort of low density residential goes in, how can we encourage and have them incorporate things like plazas or pocket gardens or community gardens so that there are ways in which we can enjoy gathering spots. It doesn't always have to be a traditional green park in order to achieve that. And I think that really helps ground the village, and I would love to see that. There may be land opportunities that come up that for things like adjacent perhaps to a school like Los Ranchos Elementary, where we could build like a type of demonstration garden that could end up feeding the students and really tie them to our agrarian history. So those are the types of opportunities that I would look for. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be 60 seconds. And we will start the answers with Mr. Radnovich. What is your vision for the Anderson home? 60 seconds, Mr. Radnovich.
The Anderson home was built as a 60s home, not really, I would say, a commercial or a institutional use. The mayor recently suggested that become Village Hall and this become a community center, and I don't really agree with that. The Anderson home would probably make a better community center than anything else. It's got a pool. Granted, the pool needs some work in terms of ADA and in terms of some of the accoutrements that it has. But I think the grounds, the vineyards, and that house itself would lend itself much better to something like that than our Village Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So, yeah, I'm very much interested in the Anderson House, and I'm interested in hearing from the public to see what they think. So let me throw out one idea. So the Anderson House is like a two-story house. It's maybe like 5,000 square feet or so. There's a swimming pool there. It's a house made to be lived in, right? There are no big open rooms, and it's not ornate looking. But I'd like to keep it related to agriculture as well. One idea is it's a place where visiting professors that are on sabbatical that want to work on agriculture, right? Where they can come and study and research how do we farm in this new arid environment that we find ourselves in. So that's one idea. Maybe something where we can have seniors come to enjoy the agriculture as well. But I really like to hear from the public on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. The Anderson House was sort of a bonus. I think the village was really looking to ensure the protection of the open space and the open fields. And so then the question becomes, what do we do with something that wasn't necessarily the core focus of the acquisition by the village? The Anderson House has this great opportunity to be a community gathering spot. But how we put that together, I think, does need a real community conversation. What would be the balance between bringing people together, whether that's events or activities, gatherings, events, parties, and what is appropriate for a big houses on Buffalo curves, right? I mean, there's traffic issues and financial issues and sustainability. So I think my vision is, let's have a good community conversation about what the highest benefit and value is for that house, for the village.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
You know, when I was a kid, I remember when my dad went over with Maxie Anderson and they pounded those grapes. And my dad loved land, he loved grapes, and he loved wine. And that was a big deal. And they were great people and very generous. The Andersons have the Agri-Nature Center that used to be a facility there for their horses, and that's where they vented the wine that they made. And being on the Agri-Nature Futures Committee and being on the Agri-Nature Center, it's a great institution. You got Bill Shen, you got Chuck Lucas back here. These guys have been pouring themselves into that, and these facilities are not paying for themselves. We don't have enough resources to adequately man these facilities. And it's a shame. We have underestimated what is really needed to protect this. And it's my concern because these open spaces under the current zoning code could be sold tomorrow to developers, and we have nothing in the zoning code to protect them. And if I'm your trustee, we would make a resolution so that they are protected into the future permanently. As far as the house, I'm going to leave it to the community to come up with some great ideas to brainstorm as to what it should be. Thank you.
Okay, the next question will be 90 seconds. And we'll start the answer with Mr. Benavides. Here's the question. If you have a track record of achieving goals that serve a community as a whole, can you identify one project you guided to successful completion in the village or in another community?
Well, I'm glad I spoke up for the folks that live in El Pueblo. So traffic is a problem throughout the village. And, you know, we were doing, not me personally, but the village was doing measurements of traffic flow and speeding, and they were ignoring El Pueblo. And I kept, at every meeting, I kept coming in and saying, what about El Pueblo? What about El Pueblo? And yes, finally, it's on the radar. And you know, we see speed humps, stop signs, and we know it's an issue. So when we bought the Anderson House with the other 25 acres, I worked with Will Carlton to work out the water issues. We had to go to the MRGCD, and bills were being sent in the wrong place, and so we were able to reacquire the water rights for that. And I'm continuing to work to find new water rights for our village. I think that's an important thing to work on. What else? You know, I think. I'm the person that called for a moratorium on C1 and VC. I got it for C1, but I didn't get it for VC, but I called for it when all this contentious back and forth was going on about the developments. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. You know, the village went through a couple of rough years after a lot of fighting, some lawsuits, and it was a pretty raw time when I would talk to friends and neighbors. And so a handful of us sat around a table and tried to imagine what could bring the community together in a way that was meaningful, in a way that we sort of, rose to our higher and best angels. And out of that conversation was born the community yard sale, which we just had last Sunday. And it was one of those things where I brought certain things to that conversation, but like any great project or any great event, it was a group effort. What I brought was the ability to organize, the ability to bring people together, to have structure, everything from agendas to a very detailed action plan that has now been put into place successfully so that we had a great first event last November, and we've built and grown on it and refined it years after. And so one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we came together, there was a need to try to help heal and build community in the village, and we got it done. And I'm very proud of the people that I work with, and I'm very proud of what got accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Hello
Ed.
again. So what I'm proud of is the Agri-Nature Center. And if you haven't been there, I really think you ought to go. They have some great events there. And one of the things that I'm proud of and being a part of is working with Bill Shen and Chuck Lucas. They're in the audience here. You should pat them on the back. They work harder than anybody out there. Is that there was a master plan created for the Agri-Nature Center. And a lot of people worked very diligent on that. And if you go out there today, if you see the road coming into the facility, the new parking facility, that's all part of a master plan that people worked on to make the Agri-Nature Center look what it is today. There's also the Matanza that we've been having out there, and then the Harvest Festival. These are events that have been organized and created in connection with the Agri-Futures and the Agri-Nature Center committees. And I feel good about that because it honors what we're here for and why we're here. And in the process of being on those committees, we discovered we have no water rights out there. Pounding our fists, we need water rights. We're an agricultural community, and the village has come around to getting those water rights. Those are the things that I'm proud of because those are the tools, the basic tools we need to make sure that we do sustain what we find beautiful and what we value the most, and that we've created great events that honor it. The culture of a Matanza, taking an animal all the way down and using every part of it. 90% of America doesn't know anything about that, but kids here do, just like my daughter. She knows how to skin a lamb and gut a lamb, and she learned that at the Agri-Nature Future Centers.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
I think the thing I'm most proud of doing as I've been trustee over the years is the cluster housing ordinance that we worked through. People were really upset by that project or by that code because of what happened on Guadalupe Trail and Chavez Road. And we were steadfast and we worked through it as a committee, and we changed that code to be something more acceptable by all of you. Because we listened to all of you and had open meetings through that whole time. And that took a good chunk of the last 4 years, probably 2 to 3 years of my time as trustee. So I'm very proud of that. And that relates to what John was saying about the green space and what Gwen was saying as well. The other thing I'm very proud of is the 4th Street project that I designed. And I know I did that before I became trustee, but I did that after I was a planning and zoning commissioner. And Larry P. Abraham, who was the mayor at that time, I was very proud to work with him on that project. And then the last thing is the Agri-Nature Center as well. I sat with Joe Craig and others on a committee that gathered the money together to buy that place. And that was before and during my planning and zoning time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question will also be 90 seconds. And we'll start with Ms. Baldwin. If voters pass the LEDA tax, who determines to whom money will be distributed, and will that process be transparent? 90 seconds.
I would absolutely hope it would be transparent. That's one of the things that's sort of the hallmark of building trust in the community, is having a transparent, clear, clearly understood process. If the LEDA passes, and I hope it will, because I think it's an important way to invest in the economic development of this village and support our small businesses, then there should be a process through the plan that it will be developed with the community and the trustees, a process to determine what the allocations are, how much should go maybe to small projects versus large projects, village projects versus private sector projects. That needs to be clear and it needs to be understood, because there are different needs. Small grants that might help an individual business grow are very different from an infrastructure project that the village may need to help move economic development forward. We need to make sure that not only businesses on 4th are supported, but the agribusinesses are supported, that we have ways to support young farming families who are in the village and struggling right now. There may be equipment that needs to be bought. All that should be a transparent process and clear what the different buckets are, so that people feel confident that the money is being invested in our economic future.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So LEDA is actually something that on a much grander scale, there's two different versions of it. One is the one for big industrial projects, maybe $50 million a year allocated to that on a revolving fund. This is a smaller project, so don't confuse the two together. This would be on a 1/4-cent sales tax. It's to leverage the purchases within the community to support those businesses in the community itself that otherwise don't have access to $50 million worth of capital because they're a Fortune 50 company. And to that extent, most of the businesses that are going to come in here are very small. You can use this to beautify your business. You can do this to beautify your community. It can be public, it can be private. I think sometimes that the power of the village is in too few of hands. I would like to see a committee of other people who have nothing to do with the planning and zoning or the board of trustees create a committee and a review committee that's totally transparent as to where these funds would go. At the end of the day, if we don't have your trust, we have nothing. Our title is trustee. And to the degree that we don't have a true fiduciary element as a trustee would managing your trust, I think everybody's expectation is that we would act as prudently as a trustee and bear that fiduciary responsibility and oversight. This is a good program. I think it's something that a lot of small businesses don't have access to capital. This would be a new way to get capital. And when it comes to business success, property, plant, and equipment, and the capital to get to it, and then ultimately the high-valued people who work inside that business, that they can do so because it's taken care of with these funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
A LEDA plan is developed in 2 phases. One is enabling that LEDA plan to develop within the village, and the other is an economic development plan that becomes part of the LEDA. It's going to be very important for us to develop an economic development plan that works for the village over the coming months. And that is the blueprint for the LEDA use of those monies. We need to involve the public in both of those things. And by default, the public is, you are part of that decision-making, because the trustees' meetings are going to be the place where we make those decisions. The economic development plan, though, has yet to be developed. It's very amoebic right now, and we need to make that as tight about what our goals as a village are as possible, working together to make that economic development plan work for LEDA. We're not going to be giving any money to large projects. We'll be giving money to smaller projects that we think can grow within the village and make the village a better place. And that's what I would advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So yeah, there are 2 different aspects to LEDA, as you've heard. One is the ordinance that we passed that allows us to do an economic development plan, which is not done, but I want the public to pay attention to that. That will allow us to to apply for grants. And then the second part is the part you get to vote on, which is the 1/4% tax on the GRT. I was very nervous about that, but I voted to put it on the ballot to see what the public thinks. And I was heartened to find out that the businesses are all for this. So it's their customers that'll be paying this extra 1/4% tax. And so I wanted them to be on board with it. So the other thing is, it needs to be fair. So whatever we do with that money needs to be fair to all the businesses. Maybe another parking area would be a nice thing down the road. Maybe we start to talk about different facades and how to make the village look more like a destination, right? So that people want to come here and stay here for a while. And certainly the public needs to be aware of that. And if we're funding anything, it'll come to the Board of Trustees and it'll be open and you get to hear about that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will also be 90 seconds. And we'll be starting with Mr. Edward with this. What would you like to see developed in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the Paladrone project?
Wow. I get to decide? It's a good question. So currently there's, when they came in flood and planning and zoning and they gave their little presentation, they discussed some additional housing, they discussed a public opening place, they discussed a hotel, and they discussed retail spaces, maybe even something like a grocery store. I think that when it comes to a space that's there, my concern is initially the parking. Currently, there are people who are walking 200 yards from their apartment to where they park. And many of them might have small children and they're trying to carry groceries and they're trying to deal with the end of the day. And to the extent that that's going on, you know, where are you going to put these businesses and where are those cars going to go? And there is no plans for a parking structure there. And to the extent that we, you know, overcome those hurdles and tackle all of that, I think that I do believe in the free market. I think that the free market is good, but to the extent that the free market is there, the public needs to have some say-so and some input on this, because at one time, of course, that is village land. And it's the marrying of people coming together that will create a good plan. And that's where my heart hopes and rests in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
Palindrome was, of course, one of the most controversial projects in my 30 years in in Los Ranchos, one of the most controversial projects I've ever seen here. The issue with 4, 5, and 6 is that the infrastructure for what the developer already planned is in place. So the sewer lines, the water lines, the electrical, all of the infrastructure is already there for the hotel, the senior housing, and the grocery store. So it's going to be hard to change and expensive to change at this point. But I do think that all of you, all of the residents of Los Ranchos, needs to weigh in on that. And if the village wants to go back to the developer and try to acquire that land and redevelop it somewhere else, that into something else, that is possible, but it's going to be expensive. I see it as being, we did a market study before we did the 4th Street Master Plan. And what the people of Los Ranchos wanted then was restaurants, a food store, and some office space and other retail. So I think that is probably the best uses for that area, but it all remains to be seen.
Mr. Benavides.
So what I keep hearing, people want a small quality grocery store. That's the number one thing I hear. People are mixed about whether we really want a small hotel. So we have a developer, we had a development agreement back in 2021 that was signed prior to the two of us up here that are currently trustees becoming trustees. And there's hooks in there, right? The only way Palindrome can get out of it is if they want to, and the village says, we want you to. Both have to agree on that, but then we're stuck with what do we do next, right? We don't want to see that place stay empty for years and years, right? And it takes somebody that knows how to develop big developments to do this project. If there's another developer out there that's knocking on our door, I don't know, but maybe the mayor knows. So in regards to, so it's correct, the infrastructure is there, but I don't know if it can't be modified, but we really want a quality grocery store. I mean, people would love to see a Trader Joe's, but they're not coming, but maybe some kind of grocery co-op would come in. And what else goes there? I am not sure, but I'd like to hear from you guys. I think this is an opportunity to have your voices heard, so we don't make the same mistake as we did before. Thank you. That's all I have.
Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. First, I think it's actually been good that there's been a little breather between 1 and 3 and what will become 4, 5, and 6. I think that gives us perhaps a little perspective on what the opportunities.
Oh, no.
Time out.
Hang on.
We have, call 911. Somebody call 911. Call 911.
I am.
Is anybody calling 911?
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Fred's calling.
Oh, God.
Someone's already
Make sure your microphones are muted.
It's at the Village of Los Ranchos Town Hall. A woman appears to
Someone's
be having
already-
a heart attack or a stroke.
Okay. Yeah, it is. I just needed to read. We're going to go ahead and return to this unless anyone has any specific and direct involvement with this. And I'm not being crass. You know, it's just like too many people being around someone like that is way more stress than they deserve.
Yeah. I don't even know where we were.
You're lost. That's scary, man. Once you hit a certain age, everything is open season, man.
That's very similar to it. My wife is nowhere near that age, but that's what happened to her.
Hey, Jack. What's up?
Sign for me as well after she's done. Please.
Okay.
Did we all answer that
Okay, I
question?
get
I don't
you.
even remember.
No, you both have to be, unless the other one is over 21.
Okay, if anyone
job,
is
Chuck.
not comfortable staying, I'll understand that. But I don't want that person to be impacted by too many people around them. So we're going to go back to Ms. Baldwin. We're going to restart the clock and give you 90 seconds, and I'll go ahead and ask the question again. Were we talking about 4, 5, and 6 of the palindrome? Okay. What would you like to see developed in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the palindrome project? 90 seconds.
Thank you. First, I think it's been a good thing that there has been a bit of breather between the first phase of the project and the second phase of the project, which gives us maybe some perspective and everyone some perspective on what's going to be important for the village. There is a development agreement in place between the village and the developer. The village still owns this land, but it has been improved with sewer and utility systems. So the plan, as presented prior by the developer, was to have it be a commercial development that has a small boutique hotel, a grocery store, maybe community garden, a sort of a brew pub kind of thing, and some for ownership townhomes around the edge. I think the most important thing is that whatever gets developed really meet the community needs in terms of commercial and gross receipts. This is intended to be a gross receipts generating thing, so it needs to be something where the community comes together and wants to be there to shop and to dine, hopefully, and to buy groceries, and also attracts visitors so that it really serves the village in the very best way possible. And I think it's important that the community really be informed and engaged throughout this part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for allowing that little bit of a break here. I haven't asked that question yet. Okay, now this is going to be easy because I'm not giving you anything more than 2 seconds to answer this question. So, Starla, no need to time them. And the reason you have such a short time is it's yes or no. No need to explain, just answer. And we're going to start with Mr. Radnovich on this one. Do you have a current library card from the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Library System libraries?
I do not.
Mr. Benavides?
No.
Ms. Baldwin?
I do not.
Mr. Edward?
I think I have a family card. I'm the parent of 3 kids. So.
2 seconds is up. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we'll get back on track here.
That was a nice break.
This is going to be hard, or it has been hard in the past. So I'm going to give you 90 seconds. And we'll be starting this one with Mr. Benavides. As a trustee, what would be your very first priority for the village?
Keeping the village safe and secure. That's always, it's got to be the number one priority. And right after that is keeping Village Hall open, keeping it funded, and keeping our open space funded, meaning the employees, and keeping it green. So that would be those would be my priorities.
Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. As a trustee, I have responsibilities that happen as a course of duty. I have to participate in a balanced budget. I have to participate in decisions that come to the village in terms of how we spend our resources, whether that's speeding in transportation or ensuring that we have a healthy agricultural system in the village. But all of that struggles and suffers if we don't rebuild community and trust in this community. And that would be my first priority, is that we find ways to ensure that we have clear and consistent processes where the community can get involved, that we have been clear about communicating when the community has a decision to make, when they are going to have influence in the decisions, and that people can trust that that will happen regardless of whether it's a zoning issue or a memorandum of understanding or a long-range plan. So I think rebuilding community trust is number one.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So I've lived in the village all my life. I remember the first time my mom said anything about a government, and she was going to the little building on Green Valley to go to a Board of Trustees meeting. And I just remember thinking, that sounds pretty important. And there was a great sense of community, because I remember listening to my parents over their discussion with their friends about the village. And then I think about all the things we've gone through, and I think about the relationship I have with my kids and the relationships I have with the people I work with, and the foundation that we all rely on is a place that we feel comforted. And if you don't have trust, you don't have comfort. A place where you can identify with that, and they have a shared common spirit. And you can do those things when things are equally and adequately communicated and on a timely basis. I agree with Gil. I think safety is critical. One of the things I want to do is, on a resolution, make open spaces permanently open space, because currently, as it is now, the village could sell property and develop it that you think is a park or open space. I don't think that that's fair. That needs to change. And I'd like to maintain a positive balance in our finances. We maintain about $1 million positive balance on our revenues over expenses. And I think that's important if we want to continue to support the things we value the most, is be financially prudent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
As I think Ms. Baldwin said, we have a strong mayor, weak council form of government. Many of you have heard me talk about that since my first weeks as a trustee. I think that is not the best form of government for the village of Los Ranchos. But I'd like to hear from all of the residents about that. I think a strong mayor, strong council form of government is the best approach to running a village like Los Ranchos. And I don't know what you think. And I think we need to educate everyone, including us, about the three forms of government that we have, and then make decisions about that and move forward. Right now, the mayor comes up with all of the agendas. The mayor comes up with the direction for the government of the village, and trustees get to have a say, but we're not part of that decision-making. And I'm not dissing the mayor here at all. I'm just saying that I think we all need to be part of deciding what kind of government we want, and we all need to be voiced in our opinions for that. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question will be, I was going to say 45, but I'll give you 60 seconds, just because I really like Starlin. And we're going to start this with Ms. Baldwin. What one thing do you treasure most about living in the village?
Wow. I think it's the natural environment, and that is the acequias and the open space, the big lots and the cranes coming back in. I heard the first call about a week ago. I mean, it's the natural environment. That is the most precious thing about what makes the village, and it's magical. I can't think of anything more important to protect and preserve.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
I agree. You know, there was a time when I would come home late at night, racing as fast as I could to make curfew, and I would come into the village and I could smell fresh cut alfalfa. Oh my God, it smelled so delicious. It was unbelievable. And you didn't get that smell, and the temperature dropped about 10 degrees, and it was cooler, and it smelled so good. And you get those same things when you're walking on the ditch, when you're in my orchard. Those things you don't find in the other parts of the village. My dad came to the village of Los Ranchos in 1962 because he thought agriculture was beautiful. He picked cherries for 1/4 cent a pound, and that meant so much to him that that's where he brought myself and my sisters and my mom to live here in the village of Los Ranchos, and that needs protecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radnevich.
I work down in Old Town every day, or did until my my problems at home with my wife and her heart. But driving or riding back to the village and being part of that respite that I call home here in the village is probably my most treasured part of being here. The open space is awesome. I can walk from my house to the Rio Grande, only crossing a road twice. Many of you are probably very similarly in that situation, but I think we have a respite here away from the city of Albuquerque and Rio Rancho and all the stuff that goes on around us, and we need to protect that respite as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
Yeah, well, I was born into the South Valley, and I lived in other places around Albuquerque. But when I was 29 years old, I found this ad in the paper, for sale by owner. I called the guy up. The Kleins owned the house, and I said, he can't. I want to see the house, and it was just at that time it was just 1 acre of land, 1,200 square foot house. And I drove up the driveway, and I didn't even have to look at the house. The air felt better. It was August, and Guadalupe Trail was just a wonderful place because of a great mix of people on Guadalupe Trail. People are walking up and down, bicycling. You don't see much horseback riding anymore. So my neighbor was growing grapes and tobacco, and he taught me how to grow both. Since I don't smoke, I didn't keep up growing tobacco, but you can grow tobacco here. I always thought that was pretty interesting. And I love being outdoors. I just love the feel of it and the people here and the great mix, the culture. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will go up to 90 seconds. Starlin, thank you. And we'll start the answering with this one with Mr. Edward. Where is the question? Here we go.
Who's this going to first?
You are.
Okay.
Should it be a priority of the village to defend acequias?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Water is life, and the acequias are critical. Our culture of our state, of our village, is around the acequias, for which if you have no water, there is no life. And When I was a kid, I could get from one end of the village to another on the ditch, and you still can. I mean, that's an amazing thing. When I've been on planning and zoning, I've advocated time and time and time again, you got to have easements to be able to irrigate the land that you're subdividing here. And that doesn't always happen. People, unless they use it, they don't know it, and if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. The city of Albuquerque is indebted to us because we irrigate, and because we irrigate with these ditches, we recharge the aquifer. If you wanna have something to drink, you gotta have water in the ditch and you gotta be irrigating. It's all connected. The city of Albuquerque should be pleading with us every year, please irrigate. It's critical to have the acequias, and we just get to benefit from it and ride our bikes on it and walk on it and wash our brains out when we're really stressed out on early Saturday morning. Thank you.
Mr. Radnovich.
What we really need to protect is the mountains and the snowfall that occurs in the mountains. Global warming is a thing, no matter what anyone says to otherwise, and those mountains are our lifeblood when it comes to water. I once was told by Sterling Grogan, who was a naturalist here in town, that the acequias and the river kind of mimic the way that the river worked before we built the levees. And so acequias, drains, and the river all work together to create a interwoven network that really mimics the old threaded river that used to exist here before the levees were built. And so cottonwoods grow up on our acequias and our drains, so do desert willows, so do even mulberries, and grapes grow on mine. So I think acequias need to be defended, they need to be protected, and we need to work more closely with the MRGCD to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
I get very excited every year when in the spring when I get to open up the ditch and I see the water flowing over on the land. This year I only got 3 waterings of my vineyard, and I have a feeling that the new normal might be less water. But we still want to preserve the network of ditches and acequias that we have. People have talked about go to the end of the ditch and make sure that person always maintains that right to water, because if you stop it, and if it's a private ditch, somebody can fill it in. I think we do need to work with the MRGCD because I think the future might be different if we only get a couple of waterings. I wish they would entertain the idea of us storing some of that water so that we can run it into drip tape and things like that if we need to grow crops. Because if you only get 3 waterings a summer, you're not going to grow crops with that. You can maybe have trees and grapevines, but you're not going to be able to grow chili with that, and you probably won't be able to grow alfalfa with that. So that's a huge paradigm shift for us, right? To not be able to water as frequently as we thought we once could. So we need to reimagine how we use that water. We need to say, look, just because we don't use it as much, it needs to be there. I am in favor of pushing back with MRGCD and saying, let people hike on it or walk on it.
Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. Absolutely. The acequias are our central nervous system, not only in terms of the things that are so special to us in walking them every day, but they literally are the water in and water out, irrigation and drainage. They're incredibly important to what makes Los Ranchos green and our huge canopies. And so I think that there are a couple of things that we really need to do to keep them healthy and recharging the aquifer. We need to look at how we can create or duplicate the kind of work crews that exist in northern New Mexico and in the South Valley to keep ditches clean and healthy so that there are not only good, strong ditches for irrigation, but good recreation so that we can walk along them. We do need to make sure that we work with MRGCD. It's complicated. There are not just MRGCD ownership, but multiple ownerships, private ownership. And to that point, getting a list of ditches that are at risk of closure, that we can track which ones are maybe one owner away from closing down or shutting entirely. It's going to be complicated. It's not something readily available, I've asked, but I think it's worth pursuing so that we can really have the strongest, healthiest aquifer, acequia system, and canopy in this village. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is somewhat related, and we're going to start the answering with this with Mr. Radnovich, and I'm going to give you 90 seconds. How do you see the village's role in assuring that future land use decisions and water resource management are linked? Mr. Radnovich.
Water is life in New Mexico. We need to, I mean, there is no question that we need to link water and water use with land use. We wouldn't survive if we didn't. And like the Chacoans learned 1,200 years ago, they had to move. This is an interesting question because really, we as a village can advocate, but we don't have much control. The MRG takes care of the ditch systems, the drains. The Army Corps of Engineers takes care of the river. The Water Utility Authority really is the authority that tells us how much water we can use and when. The only thing we can do as a village is to try to legislate more strength in our code to ensure that there's enough water for all of the land uses that we have. And that is a big question, and that would take, I think, some code rewriting and some other issues. So thank you. That's a complicated question.
Thank you, Mr. Benavides.
Oh, Radnovich. Oh, me?
You.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
So, I thought he was going. So anyway, the Agri-Nature Center and Del Norte Open Space are examples of putting stakes in the ground, right, for our acequia and watering system. Internally, we're A1, right? Most people have the zone of A1. The east side has, R2 and things like that. And so some of us are connected to a ditch system. And so if you educate people about that ditch and why it's so important, and make sure make sure they understand that, hey, the reason we have these tall cottonwoods that can use up 100 gallons a day is because we have an aquifer and we have a ditch that helps to replenish it. This is what makes us wonderful. We need to partner more with our local farmers, leasing property. If you have a big lot that you can't maintain, there are local farmers that'll come in. They won't pay you money, but they might give you some fruit and vegetables, but they'll keep it green for you. So education is a big deal. I may say that the conservation development project development is not very well known, and it's not very well used, but the idea was to keep some open space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. I think the first thing we do is we start at home. We start with the village properties. The Del Norte Open Space, the Anderson Fields, the fields around the Agri-Nature Center. They all are incredibly important to open space, and we need to make sure that we have adequate water rights, bladders, cisterns, things that can help be resilient during hot spells or drought. Then I think we have to really look at the master plan, which calls for educating community members about low water use, non-potable water use. All that's great, but how do we do it? How do we put that into a place where it becomes a community ethos to use less water when you can, or choose the water you're going to use wisely? I think when there are developments and subdivisions that happen, and they will continue to happen in the village, that we look at ways to incentivize and also require certain amounts of water resiliency and water retention, that we look at alternatives that, like conservation easements where the water use may be low, or I think it was mentioned earlier that we can have young farming families lease out for potentially lower water crop use.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So I brought my daughter Sarah here tonight, and she's heard this before, so excuse me, Sarah. We have a ranch in the headwaters of this basin, 10,000 feet up by the Colorado border. And when water comes out of the ground as a spring, I tell my kids that same water flows right by our house in the ditch. It's amazing. And but we have this crazy thing called the Texas Water Compact with Colorado and New Mexico and Texas we have to live up to. So we're facing that and climate change. And those are hard to overcome. But when it comes to land use, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Robert there in the back, he serves on P&Z with myself. When the Chavez Guadalupe project came up, they were talking about this open space. I'm like, well, what are you gonna do to irrigate it? Where's the easements to put in the ditch? These things are critical. If you don't have an easement, you're not gonna get any water to the land. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know much any land here that shouldn't have a ditch or a water easement to it. And if it's been taken away, we should find ways to reinstitute it. I was talking to Al Chavez. If you've never had your body work done over at Al's body shop on Chavez, fantastic guy, great work. He's telling me if it wasn't for the ditches and the acequias and the drainage system, all of that area in El Caballero was a swamp, and it would flood every year. And he told me about how they'd catch frogs and how they would go hunting for things. And we've been able to harness that water and do some great things with it, and it's made our lifestyle what it is, and that's what we do. We can to protect that, okay?
Thank you. So Sterling's really going to hate me. This one's 30 seconds. How do we accommodate more business on 4th Street with so little parking? And we start with Mr. Benavides.
Well, I'm all for the village buying parking areas, and maybe this is where some of the LIDA funds go to. And that, I mean, places that like Hops, you know, they're dying for more parking spot. And if we don't give the businesses more parking, then they might be parking in the residential areas, and that would not be good. So they need to be safe, well-lit parking areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
I think that the Small Business Committee on 4th should really drive the discussion, sorry, bad pun, about where parking should be in the village. Not every place along 4th needs the same amount of parking. There are ways in which there are businesses that are open during the day but not open at night. We may be able to share parking if there's agreements, and that's a low-cost way to get the job done. But there also may be times and places where we need to identify parking that the village can help facilitate. We want and need a really robust community.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
Without access, businesses won't get customers, and we need to provide an avenue for them to have customers through access. And if you don't have adequate parking, you're not going to have access. We do need some, and I will say this, though, I will not be for any conversion of any open space or park to be turned into a parking lot. Those places need to be protected, and we can also get parking lots without having to do that. So that's how I feel.
Mr. Rednovich.
We fought very hard to put on-street parking on 4th Street when we did that project. People love it and they hate it. But we need parking, and we need parking on street, and we need parking on the business site itself. The other thing I wanted to mention is we need parking now for micro-mobility. Scooters, electric bikes, all of the stuff that's happening aren't being considered by the engineers. No offense, Mr. Benavides.
It's all your fault, Gil.
So I think we need to start incorporating them into the
Thank
parking.
you. Thank you. The next question will be, "45 seconds.
The suspense is killing me.
I'm going to owe her dinner. So 45 seconds, and we'll start this with Ms. Baldwin. What are your thoughts on the speed, safety, and safety enforcement in the village, especially on Rio Grande and 4th Street?
Thank you. Safety is my #1 transportation priority. There's nothing more important. It keeps our kiddos safe, it keeps our seniors safe, it keeps all of us safe. I think that speed gets managed best when you have the right tools. One, we had to get the speed limit across the village to 25 miles an hour. Done. Next, we need speed cameras. They work if you give big old tickets and you enforce and collect on it. They're very effective. And they also bring in some money to the village to help pay for themselves. Speed humps can be useful, the little things that slow you down, but they're not great for 4th Street or Chavez, which is a truck route, or other places, and we don't want trucks to cut through the neighborhood. So I think those 2 things are a great way to start.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So I remember in the day, if I really wanted to get in trouble, I'd go anywhere near 4th Street, and when it was 40, 45 miles an hour, I would get in big trouble as a kid. And Rio Grande Boulevard used to be 40 miles an hour, and those have changed. The other day, I was driving by Eli and Melanie Ludwig's place that they had bought there on 4th Street, and right where 4th Street comes down, it curves, and a car went smack right into a tree. It was unbelievable. And she says, "Oh, that's about the 3rd or 4th time that's happened." The speed limit is only as good as to the extent we enforce it, and we might as well make some bucks on it. I think speeding cameras with ticketing where we get $100 to $200, and then I'll add at the end of my statement here, something needs to be done along Paseo del Norte because people are a victim to loud, late-night speeding. Thank you.
Mr. Rednovich.
Rio Grande Boulevard is very poorly controlled. There need to be a lot of interventions along Rio Grande, including roundabouts, speed humps, separations, and stop signs, and they need to be enforced. The hard part is our enforcement is the sheriff's office, and they do as much as they can. Fred does a great job of keeping them on board, but they're not always where we need them. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I once got passed going 25 miles an hour by an electric bike on Rio Grande Boulevard. How do we control that? Thank you.
Mr. Benavides.
Yeah, so I was part of the board that reduced the speed limit to 25 miles per hour throughout the village. Certainly enforcement is the part that's lacking. And patrol cars do wonders. I actually have seen more Bernalillo County officers patrolling than I have in the recent past. I was a big advocate of paying the Bernalillo County overtime money to send more officers our way. Speed humps work, not on 4th Street. We want people to go to our businesses and not worry about the speed humps. Little bump outs and islands might be a good solution for Chavez, but our crossroads are just getting punished.
Thank you. The next question is also going to be a short one in honor of me. And we're going to make this We're going to make this 45 seconds again. Thank you, Sterling. And we're going to be starting with you, Mr. Edward. Are you in favor of ranked choice or instant runoff voting in our municipal elections?
I couldn't.
Why or why not?
I couldn't understand what you said.
Ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice?
Am I in favor of it?
Are you in favor of ranked choice or instant runoff voting in our municipal elections? Why or why not? 45 seconds.
I do believe that the element of majority really should mean something when it talks about majority. I think anything we can do to get as many people on board is critical. I think just voting, period, is a problem. There's just not enough people that vote. I mean, look at the size of this group here. You know, how many people are really engaged in voting? I think that we should also think about the other end of the spectrum, and that is actually getting people involved as a community. When I had a radio show, I didn't talk about people that were citizens. I wanted you to be a participant. Are you a participant of your community, not just a citizen? And that starts with the voting and being an informed voter. And that's my answer.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
That's an interesting question. I think with the kind of elections we're having now, 4 of us running for 2 seats, ranked choice may be a good idea. But I know there are some problems with it. So maybe that's something that should be brought to you, to the voters, to decide. But it does seem to work in places like Santa Fe and around the country at other places. But I don't have enough experience to really answer that in an affirmative or in an educated way at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So the only time I heard this being discussed about ranked choice was 2 years ago for the mayor's race, and there were 4 people running for 1 spot. And yeah, it seemed to make sense, but you know, I've heard arguments against it and for it. It's worth a discussion. I don't know if it's a problem this go around, 4 people for 2 positions. But short answer is I don't know if it's the right solution or not, but it's worth looking at.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. I think ranked choice is more complicated than it sometimes appears. I do think that having a majority, 50% plus 1, is a good thing. And a straightforward runoff system does achieve that. So I would be very interested in hearing what the preference is in the village. If voters and constituents believe that there's one or the other that is better, we can certainly work on it. But majority outcome, I think, is important.
Thank you. The next question, I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 more questions before we get into closing statements. The next question will be 90 seconds. And we're going to be starting with Mr. Radnovich. How would you organize or develop community conversations?
The first thing I do is try to advertise as much as we can to get as many people there as we can. It would have to be a facilitated meeting. I think to get people there, we should use social media. We should use signs, temporary signs, the LED signs that we can rent. We should use the Village Vision, and we should try to get as many people there as we can. Maybe we go outside of the village to something like the Raymond G. Community Center to do this, because it wouldn't hold enough people, in my opinion, anywhere in the village. I really want to hear from all of you about this. I've been advocating for community voices since I started 4 years ago, and I continue to do that. And so getting you involved in the conversation is really important. I'd actually written that down as my answer for the track record, the one project I'd like to do. And I think it's going to be a big effort. I think there's a lot of voices in the village that have really different ideas about things, from higher densities along 4th Street to no density along Rio Grande, and we all need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So sometimes the public meetings that we would have here that are properly advertised are because of a trustee spoke up and said, I think the public needs to come together and so we can educate them and they can hear about what this is all about. So that happened for LIDA, and I believe there's one more public meeting coming up. That happened for ICIP, which is Capital Improvement Plan. And you know, things like what's happening with the schools, you know. And these things can be advertised because I think you would like to see your trustees there. And there, of course, would be a quorum. Nothing would be voted on, but we can hear from you. So yes, we need more of that, and we may have outgrown this space right here. So that's one of the opportunities we have is what do we do for larger meetings so we can bring a big group of people together. So that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. I think that community conversations should be ongoing and within the community. It shouldn't be restricted or limited just to a specific project or a specific ordinance that's coming up. So what are the ways in which we can engage in community conversation amongst ourselves? And one of the ways we could do that is maybe to have regular questions posed, survey questions posed in the Village Vision. Having the Village Vision be an online, something more accessible, not once a quarter and everything in the past. Looking at ways in which we can use and engage with our new local media. The North Valley News just started. Local media is incredibly important and incredibly vibrant in increasing the conversations among the communities. So yes, there needs to be really clear understanding of when community input is critical for projects and ordinances, but that shouldn't be the only time we have community conversation.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
So the village, when they get into a topic, historically, you'll find the engagement is like a sine wave. Think about the Montano Bridge, think about the Paseo del Norte Bridge and roads. You think about Palindrome, you think about the 4th Street thing. There's not some sort of regular maintenance of communication. And this building in this room is a stiff arm to people wanting to be involved. If anybody thinks that they're not going to have a comfortable seat to sit in and they're going to have to fight for it and stand up, they're not going to come. We don't have any sort of meaningful conversation with the APS on an ongoing basis to establish a shared vision of part of our community, and they fence their campuses off and often don't take care of them. But they've got the biggest meeting places. Their gyms, their cafeterias. We don't utilize them at all. We don't have any meaningful conversation. The leadership of the village has been deaf and mute with APS. And it hurts our community. We need bigger places. They have them. Why aren't we sharing them? Why don't we make them something a part of our community as opposed to them over there? They're another governmental agency. We can't tell them what to do. They operate in our city here. They should be part of us. Why isn't somebody from APS here tonight? Did we invite them? Technology is too good. We should be able to push and pull communications through all different forms of paper and electronic means possible, and we don't do that. It's very easy to do. You could hire a bunch of high school kids to do it for us, and they would love it.
Thank you. Okay, so this will be the last question before before closing remarks. And I'm going to give you all I'm going to give you 60 seconds for this. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Benavides. If you had the funds available to you for one project only, what would that project be?
Oh, boy. Okay, so I would like to somehow connect the agricultural part of our business, like the Agri-Nature Center, with Main Street. So let's say we had a co-op. Let's say we have a bunch of vineyards now, and they need to process their grapes. And we put a co-op on 4th Street, and so that they can come and they can process their grapes, and they can do wine tasting of all the different vineyards. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? So if I had to pick one thing, maybe that would be it, that maybe I can get my arms around, that I can actually do something about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
If I had funds for one thing, and unlimited funds for one thing, I would ensure that we had water security for everything that's important in this village, for all of our open spaces, for all of our agri-nature center, for our acequias, for recharging our system. Without water, we don't thrive, we barely exist. And so that is going to be expensive and challenging, and if I got the, get your bucket of money card, I would put it there.
Thank you. Mr. Edward?
Those are good ideas. So let me see, how do we toss this about? A community center where people can go have a performance, where it brings people together, it's a place where we can hang out, or water, or a shared agricultural community element where you can process and store your food. I mean, these are all worthwhile ideas, and to the extent that we have them, my idea is that our community will come up with the solutions to these issues if we come together and we're strong and we have a mechanism by which to do that. And I don't think that we currently have a place that we can meaningfully meet in a way that is meaningful to everybody in the community. I'd like to have some sort of a place where my kids can go swim, where you can see a performance, where you can have a thoughtful meeting, where we can be a community and we have a central gathering place that we can all identify with.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich?
I've brought this idea to the mayor. It hasn't gone very far, but I'll bring it to you. In the North Valley, we have 3 or 4 different projects going on at the same time. We have the Agri-Nature Center. We have Bakeki Open Space. We have Sandia Ranch, which is being built shortly, and we're working on that project, my company is. And we have the Rio Grande Farms. I think we need to get all of those entities together and create an agricultural powerhouse in this part of the metropolitan area, I'll call it. So a master plan that tries to give each of those entities something that they can grow with and be integral to the others. So a large project that combines them all.
Thank you. So now we're going to move to the closing remarks that you each will make, and these will be 90 seconds. And I'm going to sort of prompt you to include another question that was submitted tonight. It's going to be part of your closing remarks, and you're going to see how this works. And if you don't, you answer however you want. But this is a candidate from one of your constituents, or this question. What makes you the right candidate for the position of trustee? 90 seconds to address that or not, and make your closing remarks. And we're starting with Ms. Baldwin.
Wow, okay. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and all of you for being here, and those watching online. Our democracy works when we are engaged and involved. So thank you. I chose to live in Los Ranchos for all that is incredibly special about it. The open spaces, the big cottonwood trees, the acequias, the old Route 66 and 4th Street businesses, and our agricultural heritage. It is a special, special place to me, and I believe it is worth being involved in and making a difference in. So while I haven't been here as long as others, I know that I've rolled up my sleeves and I've gotten to work on everything big and small. And I know that I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. I don't need to, because the community will provide those answers. With me, we can work on anything together. So my commitment to you is that we will work together to solve our problems, that I will bring new energy, a fresh perspective, and a balanced approach to everything that I do in the village. And it would be my honor to represent you as trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
I think I'm the person for the job because of so many different things. I have the hard skills in education and training from my master's degree, my bachelor's degree. I have 3 great kids that teach me to look through the life through a different lens and a different paradigm. I'm a lifelong resident. I don't have to sit around and wait and say, hold on a second, I'm trying to gather a concept when I've seen the village change over time. That was dripped into my brain and into my heart slowly, and I know how that paradigm shifts. I'm a business owner. I'm a farmer. I do all the things that we value in this community, a small business person, somebody who irrigates the land, harvests the land, and shares his bounty. My mom and dad started the All Face Apple Festival at our place over 50 years ago, and it's about giving and sharing of the land, and I like to want to continue to bring that spirit, and I want to be a cheerleader and an advocate for this community, and I think I have the voice and the passion to be an advocate. We need to be an advocate not just to ourselves internally, but to the greater community. We do so much for the region, and we don't ask for much. In fact, most of the time, we don't ask for anything. That needs to change, and I want to bring that to the table, that we ask for everything that we outsource, we have a meaningful result, a shared vision, and a shared idea that makes us the pride of Albuquerque. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radnovich.
I've worked for government for 50 years in my career, and now I think it's time to work with government as one part of the government. In that time, I've had lots of return clients for my business. I've been sought after as a consultant, as a landscape architect, as a thinker throughout the state and the Southwest. I know how business works, I know how government works. And I'd like to, 1 minute left. Wow, I have a lot of time. Let's see, let me start on another tract. I know how code works. I know how regulations work. I work with them all the time. I think I can help to ask the right questions when those kinds of questions come to us on the Board of Trustees. I think I've gotten a lot of experience over really the last 4 years has been almost a crash course in learning to work as an elected official, because it was so difficult through the palindrome years that I think it hardened me to be a better trustee. Thank you, and I'd ask for your vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Benavides.
So I know we're a small village, but politics is an interesting business, right? It's a business where you can't hold grudges. I mean, I've had terrible disagreements with my fellow trustees up here, but then you just put it behind you and you put the village first, and that's what experience teaches you. And I think if I had done this early in my life, I probably would have been a better person all along, because it just teaches you about people. I've been endorsed by Mayor Real. I've been endorsed by Sheriff John Allen, by State Representative Day Hockman V. Hill, County Commissioner Barbara Baca, and let's see, who am I forgetting? Oh, and State Senator Debbie O'Malley. They have faith in me. They know that I'm looking out for you. I want to be your trustee because I understand the challenges and the opportunities ahead. I think we have a challenge with traffic, cut through traffic. I think we have a challenge with shortfalls in federal funding. What do we do about our levees? How do we continue to improve forestry? These are going to be huge problems. I think what to do with Anderson House is going to be a huge opportunity. Making connections between the Agri-Nature Center and Main Street is going to be a wonderful opportunity as well. Village Hall, we're outgrowing it. What do we do so we can make sure we have a place to bring all of us together and hear from you? Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes the trustee forum, but don't go anywhere. I still have something to say. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Central New Mexico, we thank the audience for your participation tonight. An informed and effective democracy needs you all. Don't forget to check out vote411.org and the League's website, www.lwvcnm.org, and the table out front for more election information. Thank you to all of the people who made this forum work, the village, and especially your village clerk, Danielle Cedillo Molina, the League members who served as timekeepers, Starlyn Brown and Jill Crawley, and question reviewer Karen Wentworth, and the sponsors, awesome question reviewer volunteer Henry Schonert. I had him write down in that name. And finally, I thank the candidates, not only for their participation in tonight's forum, but also for their participation in the democratic process. It is at the local level that democracy really begins. Thank you all for coming tonight. Don't forget to vote.
That's right.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Well,
All right, guys.
Good job.
Yep, good job. Gwen? Best to you. Best to you. Best to you.
Gwen?
Sir, we'll see ya. Bye-bye. Oh, no, you want to vote for